Coming up on this episode of The Social Hour, Martin Sargent fills in for Amber MacArthur, who's on vacation this week. Very exciting for me. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff. New Facebook app has timelines. Google buys Alfred. Uber goes international. We got a rat or fad. All sorts of stuff coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Social Hour is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is The Social Hour with Sarah Lane and guest host Martin Sargent. Episode 39, recorded Monday, December 19th, 2011. This episode of The Social Hour is brought to you by Ford, featuring Wi-Fi connectivity with available sync and My Ford Touch. Now your car can be a Wi-Fi hotspot. Check it out in the new 2012 Ford Focus and at Ford.com/technology. And by Netflix. Watch thousands of TV episodes and movies on your PC, Mac, iPad, iPhone, or TV instantly. All streamed directly to you, saving you time, money, and hassle. For your free 30-day trial, go to Netflix.com/twit. And by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/social hour. Hey everybody, welcome to The Social Hour. We're on episode 39. Amber is on vacation this week, but that's okay. I think you're going to like who our very special guest host is this week. Without further ado, let's welcome Internet Martin Sargent.
Oh, it has been far too long since last time we romped over the Skype, Sarah Lane.
It's true, Marty. So the folks who are familiar with our now defunct TWiT show, TWiF, an acronym for This Week in Fun, know that our last show was almost 2 years ago to the day.
It was. This is almost the anniversary, yeah.
And each year around this time, I get a little nostalgic for the old TWiF days. And I will say that although our community was not for everybody, we were a proud community. And to this day, one of the requests I get most of anything in my entire career is, please bring TWiF back. So although this is not TWiF, we figured The Social Hour, since you and I are both very social people and spend a lot of time online, being somewhat antisocial, but socially internet-y, it was perfect for you. So thanks so much for joining us.
It was perfect for me, but I think this show may be even more perfect for me, and that's why I'm going to dominate it and show everyone why I'm better at it than you or that Amber MacArthur.
I'm glad. Please do.
What do you do everything every year to mark the demise of TWiT, the anniversary?
Besides drinking heavily?
Yeah, last year I burned an effigy of Leo out at Baker Beach. And I found it quite cathartic.
Well, that's actually where Burning Man started, so I'm sure you fit right in. No one even thought that was weird. So, Martin, it's been a couple of years since we were doing a regular podcast together. Now, you and I, of course, people always ask, are you guys still friends? I say, of course we are. You just don't see us on a podcast once a week. But a lot has happened for you in the last 2 years. You have a new job. You got married. What's going on for anybody who's interested in everything Martin Sargent?
Well, it's been pretty much a downward spiral into darkness ever since TWiT was canceled. TWiF was canceled. But other than that, things are going great. Yeah, right after TWiF ended, I started working for a fantastic advertising agency called Goodby Silverstein and Partners, where I am a writer. And yeah, it's been a great deal of fun. Am I still on?
Yeah, you're still on.
Oh, okay.
So tell us a little bit more about, what you're writing for an advertising agency, and when you started working there, it took you about 6 months to sort of define your job to me, because I kept saying, well, what are you doing all day? And you're like, it's hard to explain.
I still cannot define my job to people. It's difficult. It's difficult. This job has been the greatest adjustment in my life. I did this nonsense TV work for so long. That's easy. This is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. I work much harder and get far less fan mail, and that kind of stings.
Right. Yeah.
But it's an interesting job. It's tricky. It really is the hardest thing. I'll give you an example. Like when we do shows, or when you write monologues, when I used to do this kind of thing on Unscrewed or whatever, you can go for a really, really, really long time and get your point across and tell these really long, elaborate stories. Well, in advertising, what you have to adjust to is you have to just do all that. It has to have all that meaning, but you have to get it down into like one or two words. Maybe it's like got milk, And it's brilliant. And then, everyone's like, well, got milk. I get it right from that. So that's the real trick to it. It's all about brevity is what I've found. And as you know, I'm not a brief person.
No. In
So
fact, this story
extremely...
itself took quite a long time.
Yeah, it really has.
But that's actually the nice thing about TWiT, and what I'm always very thankful for is that we can go on and on because there is no, there's no constraints to one or two words or 30-second commercials or even our shows, really, although we try our best on the social hour to keep it to an hour. But Martin, you got married. That's amazing.
I did get
married. No one thought that anyone would ever marry you.
I know.
How did you do it?
I'm not exactly sure how I scored this, but I'll tell you what, she's miserable.
Oh, that's not true. I actually
no, she is. She hates you. And she always because she follows you on the Instagram, and this really irks her because she's always like, what's Sarah Lane doing over in Paris? How come you never take me to Paris? How come that MG's always taking Sarah Lane over to Paris? How come she's down in Barcelona? I want to go to Pamplona.
Oh, well,
it's really, really upset with me.
I didn't realize Molly had that accent. Because I don't know her as well as I thought I did.
That's the head twitch and everything.
Oh, yeah. Well, you should take Molly to Barcelona, and then she won't have anything to complain about.
I'd love to. With the royalties from this show, I'm sure I can get right over there.
Well, I'm very happy that everything is going so well with you. Obviously, I know all this stuff, but I know that a lot of our viewers and listeners...
Yeah, you got to catch them up. So when are you going to get married?
Whoa. I don't know.
Come on.
It's not up to me. It's in the cosmos.
I don't appear on this show every day. Come on, why don't you just give me some insight?
I don't.
How's it going?
I don't know. I'm busy.
All right, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So, Martin, now that we've caught up with you to an extent, I hear that 'tis the season for gift giving, and I was wondering what you would like for Christmas. You are a Christmas celebrator, are you not?
I do celebrate Christmas. It is one of my favorite holidays of the year. I brought you a gift, though. I am not so much of a taker, Sarah, as a giver, and that's why I have brought for you today a gift that I knew that you would very much enjoy.
Oh, you're kidding.
It's a very selfless gift, and I would like to share that also with the people at home.
Okay.
So right now.
Thanks. Oh.
Cat's yawning.
Oh my god. It's a double. 2 for 1. This is the best thing I ever saw in my life.
You enjoying your gift? I thought it was perfect for you because I know you really love gifts. You really love cats, and you also sort of have that like rage and anger inside you. So I thought it was the perfect gift for Sarah Lane.
Martin, this is the most wonderful gift. Ooh.
All right, that's enough.
All right. I will enjoy the rest of my gift offline, as it were, but I love it. Martin, thank you so much. That it really captures everything that the holiday season means to me.
You're welcome, and I hope I could enhance the whole TWiT network by bringing that to you.
Absolutely. That's why
So
you are great at things like this.
Yeah.
Just warm fuzzies. Good stuff. That was a lovely Christmas gift. And to anybody who's in chat going, link us, that will be in our show notes. I don't actually have the link right now. It's news to me. But lovely gift, yes.
So what's this show actually about that I've appeared on, this Social Brew program?
Social Brew, that's a different program. It's called The Social Hour, Martin. And Amber MacArthur and I spend an hour each week running down some of the social stories. Of course, we can't get to everything that's social network based in an hour, but some of the stuff that we find interesting as far as news and happenings about town, global town, that is. We interview interesting people who are making interesting products or services or are using social media in interesting ways. And we try to get around that whole social media as a kind of this phrase that people go, ugh, social media, gosh, just enough with the social, because it's a really interesting space, and it's important to kind of distinguish what's cool from just what's marketing gobbledygook. And
it seems to me that increasingly, though, you talk about this social space, but that space is ever widening. It's really sort of engulfing the whole internet. So much of the internet experience now can be deemed social, right?
Yes, and that's what's good. What's good about that is that our show can encompass pretty much everything.
Pretty much everything.
Right, that we think is interesting, and we can drill it down so that we don't feel like we're covering stories that, because we only had like 3 type of a thing in a week. Mm-hmm. At the same time, it can be a little bit overwhelming because, yes, more and more, the term social is just, it's built in. There's not really a question if a company is using social media to further their brand, or if people are online. It's like that's all built in anyway. So yeah, it's a fun challenge, but it's a really fun show to do, and we have fun doing it. Quick reminder:
it's more than just Facebook.
Yes, absolutely more than just Facebook. Good grief, thank goodness.
All right, so why don't we get into
Facebook news?
Well, let's get into the first story then.
Yeah, well, before we do that, I just want to remind everybody that we record the Social Hour live on Mondays, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Our website, if you want cat yawning videos, cat yawning videos, you can go to twit.tv/TSH. That is where all of our episode archives live. So if you miss a show, if you weren't able to watch live, if you want to watch a show again, if you want to subscribe, all of those options are at twit.tv/TSH, as well as our show notes. All the cool links that we talk about in every show are there. So you don't have to write it down while we're live. You don't have to worry about missing anything. They are all with you. And you can email us at thesocialhour@twit.tv if you have any questions, comments, ideas, cool stories, anything like that. So before we get into our first news story, which actually is Facebook related, definitely want to send it over to Leo quickly to tell us a little something about our first sponsor, Ford.
So we're back at the TWiT Brick House, and I have a volunteer. Michael here is going to, Michael, see, when you go on a long car trip, nice to have something for the kids to do. I brought a little laptop, I got my iPhone, he's got his iPad, but what about the Wi-Fi? Oh, no problem. I brought along my Wi-Fi access spot, a.k.a. my Ford Focus. So, Michael, hop in here. You get in that side. I'm going to get in this side. I'm going to show you how I can use this USB Wi-Fi dongle, or 3G dongle, to turn this into a Wi-Fi access spot. When you travel with kids, as you know, it's really nice to have some entertainment for them. They like to get online. Maybe they want to surf the web or do a little email, play some games. Ford's realized that getting connected inside your car is a big deal. That's why they have added Wi-Fi access capability to the 2012 Ford Focus. Let me show you how it works. I take this, this is a Virgin Mobile, but a lot of companies make these. It's a USB 3G transmitter. Now, normally you plug this into the computer and the computer's online, but what if we have more than one device? We can get up to 5 devices online by plugging this into the Focus. Now that is going to turn the whole car into an access spot. So now Michael can put his iPad on the Wi-Fi in the car. I can put my iPhone on the Wi-Fi in the car. Up to 5 devices. I even have one of these Google Chromebooks, which likes having a little Wi-Fi so it can get online. And here I go. I just connect it up, find the Wi-Fi access spot, pick it, put in the password, and I'm online. I love this. As we drive down the highway, everybody's happy. Thank you, Ford. One of the many nice features in the Ford Focus for 2012, and of course available on other Ford vehicles. Why don't you go to your Ford dealer and drive one today, or visit the website ford.com/technology. You ready to go? All right, let's hit the road.
Isn't that lovely? Martin?
It is. I drive a Ford.
Yeah, I know you do. You've got a Ford Fusion,
It's got
isn't
the
that right?
sync. I got a Ford Fusion. It's a good American product. It's got the Ford sync, and I'm really happy with it.
Well, there you have it.
I would recommend it. I would recommend it to everyone out there. If you're driving a Mercedes or a BMW or something like that, get rid of it. Get yourself a Ford Fusion with the sync product in there. It actually is really great. It works like a dream.
Yeah, you are truly a Ford owner. You've had that car for, what, a solid year now?
Yeah, a little over a year now.
And you love it, so there you go. You didn't want to focus because you're a long-legged dude, so you needed something a little bit more mid-size.
No, and I like to go a little bit up in the luxury, so up into the Fusion is more of a luxury automobile.
Yes, well, it's perfect for you. It's perfect for you. So, okay, let's get into some of our stories from around the web this week. News over the weekend. The Facebook iPhone app got an update, which includes Facebook Timelines, which actually just went public on the web version of Facebook. Gosh, I think it was last week as well. Martin, have you turned on this feature for yourself?
No, in fact, I find it kind of confusing. I've heard people talk about it. Why don't you explain what this Timelines feature is to me?
Okay, well, Timelines for Facebook is a new way it's something that went into beta for developers, which was easy to turn on if you just sort of tinker around in the development section of Facebook a little bit a couple months ago. Which it's if you go to your news feed, that's one thing. But if you go to your personal page, so it's your Martin Sargent profile on Facebook, it's more of a timeline since the time you started Facebook and everything that's happened over the years. It even goes back to if you actually put in your actual real birth date, the time that you were born. It's basically supposed to fill in your life, really the timeline of your life. For most people, the timeline pretty much starts when they joined Facebook and they started uploading photos and posting updates and that sort of thing. The Facebook iPhone app, this only applies to the iPhone app, not the iPad app. That's different. iPad app, of course, is really new itself. But the iPhone app has been sort of in need of a lot. It didn't have timelines. We didn't have a lot of other stuff. And actually, and it's kind of hard to see, but you can. This is actually my timeline, and it's a bit. Chad, just use my. Oh, okay. We'll do this. This is my timeline, which has my cover photo as well as my profile photo. And anybody who has timelines engaged on the site, this looks pretty similar. It's obviously a little bit scrunched down, but in a way that's almost better. Because Facebook, to a lot of people, is a bit cluttered. You've got your left-hand rail stuff, you've got ads on the right-hand rail. I actually like this way of looking at my timelines. I can play videos in line, works pretty well. There you go. This was a video I took in Barcelona about some birds chirping type thing. So yeah, this is great. There are a few other features as well, but Timelines is the big one. And for the most part, I think people are in agreement that it is a welcome feature. It makes profiles look better. And it just makes sense for the iPhone app to more closely match the web experience. Now, Martin, I noticed that you don't use Facebook all that often. Is that intentional?
It kind of it's kind of like this whole timeline thing. I don't like this whole idea of timeline because I kind of want to forget about what's going on. The things that I've done in the past because I'm embarrassed of them. And it's the same thing in Facebook. Why do I want to update things about my life when it's embarrassing? I don't have anything to say.
Well, it sounds like you have a lot to say. You're just embarrassed by it. No, but okay. So
I use Facebook a lot, and here's what I use it for. I play Scrabble. I'm obsessed with Scrabble.
Okay.
And I read everyone else's. If you get in touch with me via Facebook, people out there in the audience, I'm going to respond to you. I find that nice that my audience can get in touch with me, and it's a very intimate little relationship that we have. But I tend to use Twitter more. I don't even really have the two synced up, but I should.
Yeah, I actually I turned off my Twitter to Facebook sync some time back because I don't know.
They're two different things, kind of.
Yeah, they are. It just felt like I'm sort of anti-posting the same thing to multiple social networks now. Mm-hmm. I'm even sort of anti-posting it slightly worded differently, but I know that a lot of people do that, so it's all a matter of preference. But I do like the new Facebook iPhone app. I think it's going in the right direction. If you haven't downloaded it yet, it's obviously completely free, and it's available in the App Store. Again, this is just iPhone, but it's certainly a good update that happened over the weekend. And hopefully the Facebook iPad app will get the same thing soon, so that the three of them look more similar than they do now. Some news from the Googleplex. Google bought a company called, a service called Alfred, which is a restaurant recommendation app. Martin, I know that you are a big restaurateur. You love
yes, I am.
Trying new places.
I had not heard of this Alfred thing.
I haven't either.
I had not heard of it, and I'm playing around with the Alfred. And it's really interesting. I got to say, I thought I was going to hate it because I'm thinking, what is this going to do for me that a Yelp doesn't do, right? Like I use Yelp. It seems it provides its function. I don't really participate socially on Yelp. But this Alfred is a little bit different because what you do is you teach it what you like. So it sort of gives you a test when you first start out. It's like, do you like this restaurant? Do you like? It just starts out like, what's a restaurant that you like in your neighborhood? And then based on that, it will recommend other restaurants, but you have to pick them. You say, yes, I do like this one, I do like this one. And then Alfred will be like, oh, I got 4 out of 10 of those suggestions right. And you keep doing this with things like bars and fine dining and everything. And the idea is that it's going to know really what your preferences are. And then you can share those preferences with your friends. And the idea is that based on your friends' preferences, you might have a lot of the same preferences. It's a lot of the same stuff that's going on with the social, but it's really easy. I thought it worked really, really well. I don't think I'd ever use it, though, but I might because, I like to go to the early bird specials. So I'm trying to teach Alfred that I like every place that has an early bird special.
Well, hold on a second. You just told me how great it was, how good of an idea you thought it was. So why wouldn't you ever use it? I mean, it's the company Clever Sense makes Alfred. That's what Google acquired. They're on Android, they're on iPhone, they're on iPad. What's not to like?
It's interesting. It's interesting. I don't know if I would ever use it, and I certainly wouldn't use the social thing. I don't like people knowing all of my business.
Well, I do tend to agree with you that I also have weird
the same reason I don't use Foursquare. I don't want people knowing where I am.
I got to number 2 in my social circle.
Mark's been sitting in the bar for 7 hours. What do I want people to know that for? I go there to hide.
I know where you are because Molly uses Foursquare, and I figure if she's at the bar, you're at the bar. So in a way,
she's like in an epic battle to be the mayor of that place.
On Foursquare because I was international.
Which really bugs me too, because I should be the mayor of this place.
Well. You don't play.
I have to go through this stupid Foursquare garbage in order to be deemed the mayor. Everyone knows who the mayor of that place is. Come on.
Well, Google, back to Alfred. It sort of remains to be seen how the Clever Sense team is going to be integrated into Google. Obviously, Google, when you look up a restaurant, for example, it tries to integrate as much as possible reviews from places like Yelp, Google Places, aggregate reviews. Urban Spoon is another one that Google will try to raise results on so that you have a better idea of if this restaurant is good type of a thing. So I have to assume that this is just another way for Google to offer up results to people in the iOS and Android platforms. It's interesting. It's sort of like, why didn't Google buy... there's an All Things D article by Liz Gaines who says, it looks a lot like services called Ness and Nosh. I'm not very familiar with those either, so I'm not sure why Google went with Clever Sense's Alfred rather than the other two, but they've obviously got a grand plan, so it'll be interesting.
They've been interested in this space for a long time. You remember they were sort of sniffing around Yelp for a while there, and there was a lot of rumors that they had actually sealed the deal with Yelp, but that never happened. But this is sort of like the next. Yelp really doesn't have anything quite like this yet.
So this is our next. Our next little feature, it plays into this really nicely because this is something that you found. I guess I missed it because I have been a little less online than I usually am in the last couple weeks. And you know what? It tricked me. So why don't you tell me what this is?
Well, I kind of, when I was playing around with Alfred, after a while, it's like, come on, I'm kind of getting sick. You have to rate everything. I like this restaurant. I don't like this restaurant. I'm going to give this place a 2 out of 5. I'm going to give after a while, it just seems so excessive, and I'm rating everything. And that's just for the restaurant app. You can rate everything. You can rate hotels. You can rate your friends. You can rate, you name it. So why not come up with an application that just cuts to the chase, and you can rate everything in the world all in one place rather than downloading all these other things. And it turns out, I thought I had a great idea, but somebody's already done it, and it's called Jotly. Here it is.
So I've got all these apps on my phone that let me rate restaurants, hotels, food. But why have all these apps when I can have just one that lets me rate everything? Take, for example, this glass of water. Which ice cube is the best? According to the app, that one. It's melting the slowest. Helpful. So my friend gave this parking meter a C-. It's clearly an A. A+. That's what I think. Beer in an alley, left in the sun. F-. No, this slide is not very exciting. D. What do you think?
So, okay, Martin, I have to confess something to you.
Specifically.
When I first saw this video, I didn't realize...
You got excited.
I didn't realize it was a joke, because I'm so used to these freaking rate the adventure of your life apps.
Right.
And there are many that I was
That's why it's a great joke. It's funny because it's true.
Well, yeah, it wasn't even funny. I was like, how would it... The ice cube thing, I mean... That's just, they're really grasping at straws here, Jotly. Because the guy seems really sincere, and it was a joke, but it's actually...
But now it's an actual app. In fact, I downloaded it, and I walked out of my place the other day, and I rated a dead pigeon. Oh. It was just laying there. I gave it a 2 out of 5.
You've actually downloaded Jotly.
I did.
Which is, it's an Android and an iPhone app in the respective app stores now. Went live last week. I guess they got so much positive feedback from that silly video. People saying, you're making fun of these apps. This is kind of what I was always thinking the whole time.
Probably going to be huge now.
That it's a true... Well, I think this is more of a novelty thing. I don't think people are really going to... What's the point? It's a joke thing. I mean, it might be popular for about a week. There was a TechCrunch article...
This light switch I'm looking at right now, that's a good light switch. Yeah. I'm going to give it a 5.
Well, good. Well, yeah. So that's like A minus.
I rated you. You got a 3.
Hey, I'm passing. I'll take it. I will take it.
I like the light switch better than you.
I read a TechCrunch article about Jotly. Well, who doesn't? The guy in the video who's actually it was the Nosh folks who sort of made this joke video. He said, "Listen, I'm not making fun of Oink." People said, "Wow, you were totally making fun of Kevin Rose right now, because this is kind of exactly what Oink does. You just sort of made it in a
Oh, really?
Took it to the joke level." And he said, yeah, he said specifically, "I am not making fun of anybody in particular, but there is, there's some humor there," type of a thing. So that was the first thing that I thought of. I watched this video that you sent to me, and I went, wow, I haven't heard of them, and this is so Oink-like, but weirder somehow. But I guess it's the parody of Oink.
That's kind of funny that I sort of just unconsciously made fun of Kevin Rose.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time. Kevin, we love you.
No,
I love
usually
Oink.
not unconscious.
Right. I love Oink. I think that, one of its challenges is trying to... if you can rate everything in the world, then it's kind of overwhelming. I think that's one of the challenges that Oink has to figure out, because I think people are mostly sticking to food, because at least that's something that
food makes sense. Well, this Jotly thing is actually it's from the makers of Nosh. All right, which is kind of a brilliant little move that, attracts some attention with this pretty funny, although a lot of people in the chat room were rating it about a C. This pretty funny thing, it's gotten a lot of views online, and then it sort of brings people to the real application, which is Nosh.
Right. And that's no parody at all. The Jotly thing is, yeah, it's certainly good PR. I mean, they've got senses of humor. You got to give it to them. You know, another thing, when I was at Le Web, which was a week before last, Leo and I were there, and hopefully all of you were able to watch as much of our live coverage and specials after the fact as possible, because we talked to a lot of great people. One of the people that we talked to was the CEO of Uber, Travis Kalanick. And what was great about Uber, and this, for anybody who's not aware, Uber is a way for you to call up town car service. They don't have to be black. Via your iPhone. It works kind of like a taxi, except that when you say, okay, I want an Uber right now, it'll let you know on a nice graphical map where the Uber driver is, how long it's going to take for them to come to you, and you don't have to worry about tips because the total is included in the cost of your ride. Now, the cost of your ride, at least in San Francisco, sometimes is about twice what a taxi ride would be. So
usually about twice.
Yeah, so you're paying for convenience.
And luxury.
Exactly, that too. They've got little nice bottles of water in the back seat, sometimes magazines, and the driver's really nice, and the cars are nice and big.
They'll let you do anything in the back of the Uber cab.
Well, okay. Take your word for it. But anyway, Uber's a great service. I use them a lot. I don't use them exclusively because I think it's cost prohibitive. But not everybody feels that way. And it also depends on what city you're in, because anybody who's used to urban areas knows that cabs, it's a very different experience if you're in New York or San Francisco or somewhere like Los Angeles, that the cab situation is really dismal because you have to go so far and it's expensive and you're not just going to be able to hail a cab on the street. Well, Uber announced at Le Web that they were going international. And in fact, they lit up, as they say, a bunch of cars in Paris for the conference, which was sort of their soft launch into opening up in Paris, which was absolutely amazing because the cab situation in Paris is not awful, but not awesome either. They stop picking you up somewhat early in the night. It can be hard to find a cab at certain times of the day. It's almost a little San Francisco-like, and Uber's blog post, they wrote a really interesting blog post on why they decided to launch internationally before launching in some U.S. Urban areas that people would have thought made more sense, to go domestic and then go overseas. Is that they said because cities are so different in the way that people's schedules run. Is there a taxi service like New York where it's union based, or a bunch of private cab services like San Francisco, or something in between? That it's really city by city, and there are cities in the U.S. because it's a U.S. company that are more of a challenge than a city like Paris, where they feel like, okay, we've kind of got this down because of other cities that we have data on in the U.S. So I love Uber. I would love to see them working in all cities. I think Asia is their next big frontier, but it's sort of fascinating
They're talking about rolling out like 2 cities a month.
Yeah. It's
not far from now. It's kind of hard to believe that they have that many people willing to pay that much, but it really is. It's a much better experience than taking a cab.
It is, absolutely. And according to Uber, these are, you say, well, who are these people? I mean, these aren't even really, these are people that they find who have car services, and in some cases are working, kind of under the table. They're the people who say, like, hey, you need a cab when you're at an airport, and that they're not actually really a cab. It kind of legitimizes this business that a lot of people are already running, and of course they get a cut of whatever Uber takes from us when we get a ride. It's really fascinating. It's fascinating the kind of data that they're crunching about peak times in different cities, and Washington D.C. for example. They just opened up in Washington D.C. Obviously, a big politics town, and the way that would be different than the habits of the Uber takers in New York City. Or even Los Angeles, which is something that they're going to be tackling soon. It's fascinating.
Do you ever use Cabulous?
No.
It's kind of like it's the poor man's version of Uber.
I have
it's
heard
very similar,
of it.
Though. You hit the map, and it doesn't work as well. There are some problems with it, but When it works, it's so great because you have that anxiety when you call a taxi. You don't know if they're going to come because these guys around here in San Francisco, some of them are good, but they could see a fare 2 blocks away and they're just going to pick that guy up because they're not sure that when you get to out in front of my place that I'm even going to be here anymore.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
You can actually see on the map this guy coming at me, and I got to go downstairs now because I can tell he's 2 blocks away.
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely love that. And in fact, sometimes I look at the app because I live on a one-way street, so you have to sort of know the best way to get to my house. And sometimes I'll watch the guy and I'm like, no, you turn on the wrong street. You got to go around the block again.
Yeah.
It's to the second. It's great. Well, it's not great if you're in a hurry and they turn down the wrong street, but it's very, very specific, which is awesome when you need to know exactly when you're going to get picked up. And with a cab, it can be anyone's guess. Certainly in San Francisco, the cab situation is not ideal.
It's terrible. It's terrible. In fact, I sometimes have a real problem getting a cab home from work. And there's these people at work, they see me out there sometimes waiting for a cab because I don't always drive. They told me about this new service that they say is absolutely fantastic. It's an only in San Francisco kind of thing. It's called Homo-mobiles.
Homo-mobiles?
It's a gay-run taxi service. But, it's open to everyone. You pay a donation of about $1 a minute.
Okay.
Which works out. That works out. And supposedly these guys are totally great. And if they say they're going to pick you up, they're going to come pick you up. I don't know how it's licensed. I'm not sure exactly how it's legal. But I'm going to give it a shot.
Hey, anything that gets you from point A to point B more comfortably and cost effectively, I'm okay with that. All right, well, okay.
I know. Who knew, right?
Right, well, in San Francisco, it's actually not that surprising. That sounds about right.
No.
All right, so Uber goes international. That's all we have to say about that. Shall we move?
There's some more international news that I wanted to just point out real quick. That's just very important news about Uber going international.
Yes.
But in other international news, roll it.
What in the?
Did you have any idea that baby rhinos make this kind of...
Oh, my goodness. Oh. Do they all sound like this, or do these little rhinos have weird voice boxes?
They all sound like this, and you think that's really cute, right?
Yeah, I do.
Can you imagine having those guys in your house? Like, but you don't think two kids get two rhinos? You listen to that all day?
Martin, I love you. This is why I love you. Well, I love you for a lot of reasons, but you have a knack.
I figured you'd like that one, too. That's your second gift.
A special knack for finding the best YouTube videos. How do you do it? Yeah. What's your secret? What's your secret sauce?
You know, those things look all cute and everything, and then they gore you right through your sternum.
No, they're adorable. They wouldn't hurt a fly. Meow, meow. They're like little kittens. They sound like kittens. Kitten rhinos. Thank you for my wonderful gifts. Keep them coming.
There might be more. I'm not sure yet. I might spring some more on you.
Okay. We were going to talk about offshore cities. Okay, so let me set this up a little bit. Over the weekend, I was reading The New Yorker. Martin, I know that you're also a New Yorker fan. It was an article about Peter Thiel, who's a very sort of famous VC superstar, also an early investor in Facebook and co-founder of PayPal. And he had recently invested in a company that is, how do I even explain this? Wanting to construct an offshore city of sorts. City is a little bit of the wrong term because it's not really a place for people to live. But
it's like a huge cruise ship with cubicles and servers. Yeah,
like they want to call themselves a Googleplex offshore. And if you're far enough offshore, I think it's like 12 miles or something.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to adhere to any national law of where you're closest to
including
offshore.
A work visa.
Exactly. So you have much less stringent maritime laws, So the idea would be, so let's say you've got a bunch of really talented people. They want to be working in the Bay Area, but for, with a bunch of work visa situations, it's not feasible to get everybody into one place. Well, what if they actually, sleep in San Francisco, but for work are ferried out to this offshore plex of sorts. They work, and then, there's probably some sort of way for them to sleep out there if they need to. And then they come back at the end of the day, and they get around these, international laws that can be very prohibitive to companies and really talented workers. When I first read this story, I was like, offshore cities, wow, it's Waterworld. You read it more closely and you realize, well, that's not exactly what they're going for, although I guess it could be, sort of a proof of concept if this works. But do you think that this is, this U.S. government has got to intervene.
It sounds like a joke, but it is a serious thing. It's a huge problem that companies are having getting the programming talent and the science talent that they need, unfortunately, homegrown here in the United States. So they want to bring in these highly educated guys from a place like India, a place like China, to help them develop their product here. You can't do it because of the work visa situation. This is their solution. Is it cheating? Do you think that this is going to be allowed?
Well, that's a good question. I don't think you can call it cheating when you're like, listen, it's
this is
legal.
The law.
Yeah,
the law is the law.
The law is the law.
And they're going to live here in San Francisco. You know what? They're never going to leave that boat. You know how these guys are. They're always sleeping in their cubicles and everything. They're not going to come back here.
Well, there was also
They're
the
going to be out
question.
on that boat.
There was also the question of what happens when the high seas turn on you. There's a storm offshore, and this is not the kind of place that's safe. Apparently, the company says, well, we're going to have to figure that out, but you sort of have to shut down work for the day.
Can you imagine all these guys from all these different countries don't really know each other, and all of a sudden, the huge major waves hits, the chaos that's going to be... I'd kind of like to see it.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to see it.
It's
not to mention... I hope that these geniuses can program something to keep the seabirds from crapping all over them. Because I don't know if you've ever been out just offshore, like to the Farallones. That's about 12 miles away. It's bad out.
I went whale
Lots
watching
of
there
seabirds.
once.
Right.
I don't remember that being so terrible, but I'll take your word for it.
Maybe they're particularly attracted to my head.
Maybe so. In any case, offshore cities, look for them. Apparently, they're on the way. Okay, Martin, before we get to some viewer feedback, I want to quickly thank Netflix for sponsoring this episode of The Social Hour. If you're not using Netflix, you are missing out. You can get instant streaming, television shows, movies, whole series of shows that you never watched the first time they came around. I'm actually going through Friday Night Lights right now. Are we in our second season yet? I think we're still in the first season. Well, I'm not sure if we're on first or second season. The show is great. I know I'm the last one to the party, but this is why Netflix is so perfect. It took me a really long time to gain interest. I was out of shows I wanted to watch on TV. Netflix was perfect to pick something like that up because not only can I watch it through my Apple TV, my Roku box, Xbox 360, PlayStation, iPad, the list goes on and on. If you have an Android phone as well, works on a lot of Android models. Netflix is the absolute best way to watch streaming content, and it's kind of that impulse watch, right? If I'm just somewhere and all of a sudden I'm at the DMV and I've got an extra hour type of a thing, I can start watching a movie, pause it, and then pick up where I left off back when I'm in my living room at home. It'll remember actually where you paused. And the nice thing about Netflix is that you probably you have an account. If you watch TWiT, kind of crazy if you don't have it already, but you probably know somebody who isn't a Netflix user. They don't really know if it's right for them, that sort of thing. So 'tis the season to give somebody a 30-day trial. It's completely free. If you just go to netflix.com/twit, all they have to do is enter their email, name, and create a password, continue. You get 1 month free of anything you want to watch on Netflix. There's no cap. There's no, 5 movies a day type of a thing. You could stop sleeping and eating and communicating with all of your friends and watch as much as you want to in 30 days, completely free. And then, of course, at the end of those 30 days, if you love Netflix, then you can figure out the plan that works best for you. So tell a friend. Be joyous this holiday season. Netflix.com/twit for that free 30-day trial. And thanks to Netflix for sponsoring The Social Hour, as always.
Well, you don't need to tell me, friend. I think it's fantastic.
Are you a TV series watcher via Netflix? Because that's actually what I ended up loving the most
absolutely.
about it.
That's all I do. That's the only two. Every night. In fact, it kind of makes me mad because it's taking me away from reading literature. Which is my love, of course, as you know, very scholarly. Some of the shows on here are so good. The fact that you can watch them back to back and back, the stories become so compelling. How can you not? How can you not at the end of a long day?
I found that I have started to prefer watching television shows this way. It's like I will wait a couple seasons.
It's the only way.
That then I can do marathons.
Us too.
Yeah. Because Friday Night Lights is like, we'll finish an episode and then we go, want to watch another one? Okay. And then all of a sudden it's 2 a.m. and it's like, okay, we have to save some for tomorrow. So yes, love Netflix. And as always, give the gift this holiday season of free content at no cost to you. It's the best kind of gift ever. All right, let's move on to a video. Les from Winnipeg actually has questions about this very show.
Hi, Amber and Sarah. My name is Les. I'm from Winnipeg. I really enjoy the social hour. And I was wondering how you go about choosing your stories. I know there's some big news that's out there, but I'm sure you get barraged by lots of companies and press releases and all that kind of stuff. And you have to sort through it, and I'm wondering, is there a journalistic process that you go through? Is it just being connected to the community really well, like knowing people? Or what is the way you get your stories? And I'm just curious because you do this every week and there must be some sort of process to it. I'd love to hear it. Les from Winnipeg. Bye.
Bye, Les.
Hi, Amber and Sarah.
Just the ones. Just the ones who do. Les kind of had that Michelle Bachmann looking slightly off camera thing. Although, thank you for the video. We love getting videos. Martin, this actually would apply to you too because you're used to weekly shows. Got to find all that content. What is the process?
You set up a routine. After a while, you just know where to look, and you go to the same places every week. Then you learn about new places. Somebody tells you, and it's always a gold mine when you find a new one. And really, the trick is to kind of stay ahead of the curve because it's hard. Everyone on top of this, there's so many bloggers, there's so many sites. Everyone is covering a lot of the same space, and you always want to stay one step ahead. You want to have the original source material, not just be covering the stuff that other people are saying about the original event. So it is tricky.
Yeah, there are different processes I go through depending on the TWiT show. For something like Tech News Today, which is a daily show, it's about the news that's happening right this second, and news breaks at all hours of the day. Having an RSS feed is really, really important. You're following certain accounts, but then I'm refreshing Twitter every 5 seconds, type of a thing. I mean, it's not really rocket science. It's more just diligence, I think. For something like the Social Hour, because it's a weekly show, I do a lot of reading the websites, the news sources, following certain little internet fights that people are having. All of that stuff all contributes to the space. And I'm bookmarking things, and when it's time to put our rundown together, you put everything into a line and then say, okay, realistically in an hour, what are we really going to talk about? And you start picking and choosing. It's fun. I mean, I always found that actually the most fun part of shows like this is being able to research.
I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But when it comes down to it, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. You have to. I think the key is if you love spending majority of your time online, reading, researching, getting a sense for where people are coming from and when to call BS on things, and then adding your own sort of spin and predictions into it, it's the best job ever, but it is extremely time consuming. After being away for 2 weeks, I followed online a little bit, but you feel really behind. You kind of can't let yourself ever get behind. All right. Next email sent from Jen, sent from her iPad. Hey, guys. On a recent past show, a fellow named Johnny wrote in and asked if there was an app that reads your tweets to you. I know of a great one. It's called Aha Radio, and not only will it read your tweets to you, but it'll also read your Facebook feed, the news, real-time traffic information, etc. Pass it on, and thanks and love the show. Thank you, Jen. I love free apps who do... the original question from Johnny was, he was a truck driver, I believe, and he said, I want to follow Twitter, but I'm on the road for long stretches at a time, and as you know, Twitter is real time, and it's easy to get behind. I want something to be read to me. And we had a few suggestions, but we did not talk about Aha Radio, so at least for iOS... it's free. The website is aharadio.com. And the nice thing is to be able to get your tweets read, but also something like your Facebook feed, which is something that I can never keep up on. I mean, my Facebook feed is it's dumping much faster than I can read. So that would be good. Martin, I know you don't do a whole lot of commuting these days, or not long stretches of commuting, but I'm in my car for about 2 hours a day. So this is really helpful to me, especially when I'm worried about something breaking while I'm on the road. News breaking.
You would really do that?
On my car.
You would really do that? Like
yeah.
You sit there and listen to...
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, what?
Because you can't filter out all the dribble. I mean, when you're looking at it, you can just scan, like, no. But if you're going to have the whole audio feed, you're going to get everything.
Well, but that's the point, right?
I guess so. That sounds like a very dull point, but go ahead and do it. I'm not think it's a long drive to Petaluma, baby.
Well, that's true. You know, I mean, there's only so much Michael Krasny a girl could listen to before she's just got to turn it back to Twitter, all right? Actually, today was all about top films of 2011, so that was actually a really good show. But so thank you, Jen. Again, Aha Radio, it's free. If you're interested in this, definitely check it out and let us know if it's something that works for you or if it's bunk. That would be helpful to us, too. All right, so we got a tweet. It was actually an email about a tweet from Mike, who's Mike_Tabbert on Twitter. Shared a tweet from CNET with us. The tweet reads, make sure I have it up here, Microsoft, insult Android on Twitter, win a free Windows Phone. It links to a CNET article, which is in more detail. The idea that Microsoft is kind of being, let's make fun of Android, and you say something on Twitter, you hashtag it appropriately. If we like your tweet, maybe you'll win a free phone. Now, first of all, I sort of hate it when companies do things like this, even if it's not mean-spirited, because then you just kind of get a bunch of spammy tweets from people who are trying to win free things. Believe me, if you want a free Windows Phone, I can see why you would participate, but a lot of people are up in arms about this because they say it's kind of pathetic on Microsoft's part to be encouraging people to talk bad about a competitor, a more successful competitor, at least right now. I don't know. I don't. This doesn't really spark ire inside of me. I feel like Microsoft is just trying to get attention. So.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, you could say a lot of bad things about Microsoft, but I'm not sure that this is one of the things that you want to put up towards the top of their list. All right? I mean, I work in advertising. This kind of doesn't sound like that bad of an idea to me.
Right. Yeah, it's whatever.
It's a tactic. I mean, Microsoft is a business just because they're Microsoft. You know what? If it was Apple doing this or something, people would be like, that's brilliant. It's brilliant. But
Apple wouldn't. I mean, I guess that's the thing. I don't know. Certainly not.
They're so classy.
Well,
right.
You say about them what you want, but Apple would never. That's not something that Apple PR would do. They don't actually want to acknowledge their competition. That's their strategy.
Yeah, right.
There is nobody else but us. Why would there be? Type of thing. So thank you, Mike. Always interesting to know how catty the big companies are with each other these days. I want to remind everybody, before we get into our rad or fad, which it'll be weird not doing this with Amber, but Martin could be the one who decides rad or fad. I just want to remind everybody, you can write us. The social hour at twit.tv is our email address. You can leave us a voicemail, 2626 SOCIAL. That spells social, is our Google Voice number, or record a video like Les did. Upload it, send us the link. It could be YouTube or Vimeo or pretty much anywhere that you can host a video. Send us a link. Try to keep those voicemails emails and videos to 30 seconds or less, and we're so happy to be able to feature you on the Social Hour. Quickly want to thank Audible. Martin, you talked about literature earlier in the show, and I kept my mouth shut until now because I don't know if you have experienced the joy that is literature read to you via audible.com. Martin,
not nearly enough. And I pledge to you, Sarah, that right after this show, I'm going to take advantage of this offer.
Well, I certainly...
Really, I'm going to do that. As you know, I'm always listening to the NPR and everything like that, but and I don't commute as much as you do. But this is not an excuse because I could be doing this in the home. I could be doing this at work when I'm pretending to working.
Right.
I could be doing this.
You've also, for years, you've been listening to shows on NPR, some of your favorite shows, when you're ready to go to sleep at night. You know, you kind of lay
every
there.
Night. I listen to All Things Considered every night.
There you go. So it's the perfect time where it's like maybe you just want to sort of be quiet for a while and, close your eyes and have somebody read you a story. Audible is so great for this sort of thing. It's also good for commuting, people like me who are in their car a lot and want to get through books, but it's like, hey, those are 2 hours I don't have to sit and read a book in my favorite easy chair. It's just not going to happen. Why not actually have the Steve Jobs book read to me? It's so many books. I mean, Audible, we used to say they had over 75,000 titles. They have a lot more than that. They have over 100,000 titles now. It's amazing. It's pretty much anything you'd ever want to read, and most of the stories that you've never heard of are on Audible, oftentimes read by the authors themselves, narrated by them, which is really great if if there's certain authors that it just makes a big difference that they're actually reading their own books, and some really great voices voicing some of the other books too. And the special offer that Martin mentioned is, all right, ready? audiblepodcast.com/social hour. That is the URL to get a free audiobook of your choice. Audiobook? Want a free book? It's like going into a bookstore, stealing a book and leaving, and there are no repercussions at all. audiblepodcast.com/social hour. It's a free audiobook of your choice. And believe me, it's once you get into the experience of having audiobooks read to you, you'll love it. It's so good for when you're really tired and you know that your eyes aren't going to be able to. That happens to me all the time, even when I'm reading my iPad late at night. But I can listen, and kind of let my imagination run wild. Again, that's audiblepodcast.com/social hour. Get a free book, Marty. Do it now.
I'm going to do it.
And let us know which one you choose.
Get around to reading War and Peace.
There you go.
Have it read to me.
Perfect. There you go. Finally, let's move on to Rad or Fad. Now, Martin, I know you're not familiar with this segment of the show.
No, I'm not, but it sounds fun.
This is the part of the show where Amber picks something that she thinks could either go into the Rad category or sort of be deemed to just a passing fad category.
Oh.
Yeah, so
it's like kiss it or diss it.
It's exactly like kiss it or diss it. In fact, that is we should have thought of that. I think I came up with something. It was, I forget what it was originally, but it was one of those. And Amber said, what about Rad or Fad? I think that's a little bit better. So that's what we call it. This actually came via email from someone who is working in PR for a app called Crowded Room. This is for iOS. And the idea behind Crowded Room is... And it immediately reminded me of Sonar. For anybody who watched a past episode of The Social Hour, we interviewed the CEO of Sonar, which was an idea of, let's say you walk into a big party, right? So there's a lot of people there that you don't know. And a lot of, maybe some of those people you'd have a great conversation with, and some of these people you don't have anything in common with, and it wouldn't really be worth making small talk. Crowded Room would attempt to, by geolocating you and others, who has the most in common with you, or who, maybe you have nothing in common with somebody except that you're both ice hockey players. And so you really want to talk about, the hockey season type of a thing. It would attempt to give you the most information that it can possible about people so that then you can decide to meet them. Okay, so there's that. Crowded Room also does something that Sonar doesn't do. For anybody who says, well, this sounds exactly like Sonar, is it allows you to... it's almost like a Facebook event where it gives you the chance to RSVP yes, no, or maybe. It allows people to say, I'm thinking I might go to this, this food event a block away from my house. Like I might go there later. And if enough people do, through the Crowded Room app, you get a sense of what might be like a hot place to go on a Friday night type of a thing. Okay, so you get the gist of this. Here's my problem. Number one, there is some fun that is really taken out of talking to random people at parties when you know too much about them ahead of time. I mean, that's sort of the joy, isn't it, of talking to strangers at parties. Is like sometimes you end up really liking them and learning about them organically, and sometimes you're like, oh, this guy or this girl, I can't get away fast enough. There's something, I don't know, I find that interesting and exciting about real life communication because you never really know what you're going to get. I'm not sure I want to be choosing who to talk to based on what I know of them beforehand too much. Martin, what do you think?
I agree. I think it's really creepy. If somebody came up to me at a party, was like, "Oh, Martin, are you enjoying War and Peace on Audible?" I would be freaked out.
Well, they could just have watched The Social Hour. So.
Well, they could have just watched The Social Hour, but you understand what I mean.
Yes.
You understand what I mean? It would freak me out. I don't think I would do this because I'm like you. I like meeting people, socializing the old-fashioned way. Actually through human interaction, not it's like going to the restaurant, and I am guilty of this sometimes, and studying the menu beforehand. There's a certain thrill to going to the restaurant and opening up the menu and getting the recommendations from the server. That's a better way of going about it.
You know, that's a really interesting, that's interesting. I never really thought about that, but I agree with you. It's also the reason that I don't really like watching movie trailers because I like to be surprised once the movie starts. I mean,
do you read the movie reviews beforehand?
I try not to. I like to know, like, what Ebert, did Ebert give it 4 stars? I'm interested, but I don't want to read his review. I want to go back and read it after I've seen the movie.
Right. Exactly. I just want to know, Mick LaSalle or whoever says, yeah, go see that movie. The people that I respect as critics. And then I want to go see that movie.
That's great. I love that. Don't read the menu before you talk to that guy at the punch bowl at the party.
If Molly were in here, she would say, you are such a liar. You spent hours reading menus before we go. Like you do the math.
Yeah, well...
And I still can't decide when I get there. And I overorder.
So crowded room, to go back to our router fad, listen, I don't think this is a bad idea at all. For me, it's just not going to fly. There's too many Facebook maybes that happen. Facebook maybe is a way of saying I'm not coming, but I don't want to say no to you. And so this whole, like, I might go to this venue later type thing, I see that as it would fail in the same way where people would just maybe go somewhere and then never show up. It's fad to me. It's too much analytical data put into something that should be less so.
It's got it, sister.
Yeah, so we're in agreement. We're fadding this. Thank you, Martin, for playing Router Fad.
I'd like to say I want to have my own. I want to call it That's Dope or No Hope. And I'm going to give this one no hope.
No hope for you, Crowded Room. That's what Martin Sargent says anyway.
Crowded room, more like crowded space. Come up with something more interesting.
Okay, well, no holds barred here. With that, Martin, that is it for this episode of The Social Hour. Our hour is over, and this was really fun because I wish that you and I were doing a weekly podcast still, and, we really should.
I miss it. I missed it. It really was one of the highlights of my week.
Mine too.
I feel a little rusty, and I think that you could tell that I'm a little bit rusty, but I want to get back into it. You are the best podcast partner out there, and I think that would be super, super fun. And we should talk about some of those ideas that we've been trying to come up with, because I think some of those could be really big successes.
I do too, Martin. And for anybody who says, why don't Sarah and Marty just do something together? Believe me, it's not because we don't think it's a good idea. It's more of a time, really a time issue and figuring out what makes the most sense for us.
We barely have time to even go out and drink together anymore.
I know. Once you got married, everything went...
Oh, it was not that.
I'm kidding. No, but we really do...
MG.
We really are talking about some ideas. We're very excited to work on something again together. So for anybody who's like, yeah, that would be a good thing, believe us when we say that we want that too. it's a time issue, but we will make it happen one way or the other. But thank you so much, Marty, for filling in for Amber MacArthur this week. Please come back anytime.
It was a pleasure. Next time I come back, I promise I'll have better audio. I'm sorry.
No,
about
actually,
this.
Besides a little hiccup mid-show, actually your video and audio is great now. So
terrific. Then.
The wonders of the internet. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next
everyone.
week on the Social Hour. Bye-bye.
Bye. Be social.